We are recording. It's
Yay.
rain.
It is a cold, dreary day here in the Metroplex.
It was a cold and dreary night, and footsteps were heard outside the house.
Oh, good Lord.
Oh, wrong show. Wrong show.
So I'm Luann Morris.
And I'm Deborah Colleen Rose, and I had a thought before we started the show.
You did have a thought?
I did. Here's my thought. My thought is that most podcasts and television shows and stuff, they have a show plan, they give it a title, all this stuff, and then they do their show. And that never works for us. We do the show, and then we figure out what it is that we talked about.
Yeah.
And then we try to give it a title based upon that or a description, because we'll say we're going to do one thing, and then Lord knows where it goes from there. And the best parts are the ones that have nothing to do with what we say we're going to talk about. That was my thought.
Well, it happens, and we're just kind of fly by the seat of our pants kind of girls.
But we always start out with a subject. We always talk. We actually speak to each other outside of the show or the podcast or the train wreck, whatever you want to call this. And we say, what are we going to talk about this week?
Train wreck. All right.
And we don't over discuss it because we want to be spontaneous. And I like to surprise her with things that she's not expecting.
That's when I go, what?
Boom. Boom. So tell them what we're talking about today.
What are we talking about? Oh, we're talking about relationships, right? And how we establish our boundaries in relationships. And
no, that's not right.
No,
not right. We discussed the fact that boundaries is just a small element in a relationship.
Yes.
And that more relationships are destroyed by lack of understanding of what each other want in the relationship. Yes. And that's where a lot of things go awry and get discombobulated and ends in catastrophe. And sometimes people don't even figure that out for years. And then it ends in a breakup or divorce because they didn't really tell each other what they were expecting out of the relationship, or if their expectations changed as it went along.
And I think that for me, it's about, I have been thinking nonstop for the past week, what is it I need from a relationship?
Yeah.
What are my needs? Is the person that I'm speaking with, is the person that I'm communicating with or hoping to have a relationship with, are our needs on the same page?
Well, there's needs, and then there's wants, and wants and desires are kind of interchangeable. And then there's boundaries, which is what you won't put up with.
Yeah, kind of like the deal breaker.
Or it should be a deal breaker, probably,
Probably.
like verbal abuse, physical abuse, adultery, those type of things.
Well, it depends on, I think that people can have open relationships if they talk about it, if they have trust.
Well, it needs to be negotiated, though.
Correct. I think so, too.
I've always said that BDSM, when handled properly, teaches people how to have really healthy relationships, because you have to negotiate. And many BDSM couples will put it into a contract form, and it's very clear and outlined. And there's a safe word, which means that you can say, okay, you have violated my trust or my boundary or whatever. Google's wanting to help me here. Yes. Would like to look at BDSM? No, I already know this. Thank you. So, it teaches. It says, sorry, I'm not sure what you're doing. Well, we aren't either. And, but it teaches you to have healthy perspectives and really open up that communication, because, one of the things they say in the BDSM world, if you break your toys, you don't get to play with them, meaning the other person in the relationship. And
right.
I mean,
well, to me, and, trust and the communication style, I mean, don't just say it the way you feel it. Say it the way it is. Just put the truth out there. Don't tell me what you think I want to hear.
I want you to hear this. That's why I'm doing this. So I'm going to play this back for her when we're done. Because she
Hey,
really preaching to herself.
I've done a lot of reflections this week. So
That's
really.
good. That's good. Because see, Luann's she's a fast and loose mama. She's in the dating scene. You know, I'm an old married woman 5 times over. So
Well, I want a partner. I want a relationship.
do you know what you want in that relationship?
That's what I need is a relationship. I need trust. I need honesty. I need the truth. I don't need someone telling me what I want to hear, whether I like it or not. It needs to be up for discussion. There needs to be an
But you know what?
agreement.
I can tell you, Luann, you know what? I love you and we're dating, but I am going to have sex with other people. That's honest.
Yes.
Now, does that meet your criteria?
Well, I think that I think it could. I think that you're right. There needs to be an understanding and maybe something in writing. It doesn't have to be in writing as long as everybody understands it and is on the same page.
Well, I think writing helps bring clarity, and it also helps you to refresh people's memories when they're in denial of what they said or agreed to. But
yeah, probably.
here's what I don't think a lot of people take in consideration is that there's the act that you agree to, whether it's having a polygamous relationship, an open relationship, or whatever. And then there's what that means and the expectations. So communication is not just about using words, it's about understanding what that word means to me and what that word means to you, and if we're on the same page, you know.
Yeah, I think that probably in the last 6 months, I've heard myself. And what does that look like to you?
It's
You
good.
know, what does that
That's
look like?
good.
Here's what it looks like to me.
Oh
Oh,
man, my screen's doing
weird.
funky things again.
Yes,
Hello.
we're being weird again. Okay. So I think that uh, it would have to come from the perspective of the other person. When if the other person in the relationship is the one that wants to have sex with others, because for me, I may not. I'm not thinking that that's where I want to go for me personally, but you know, I don't want to put I want to be able to be appreciated and cherished, but still have my freedoms to do
But what
what
does
I
that mean? What does freedom mean to you? The freedom to sleep late, the freedom to date people, the freedom to not brush your teeth? What does that mean?
the freedom to follow my herbals, to do to schedule my markets, to do that sort of thing, to go with my girlfriends. But I want to give the same respect to the other person. They need to
Well,
be able to go with the guys, or if we agree that they're going to have sex with others, then what does that look like for them? What are they, is that going to take place in our home? I don't know how I feel about that, but
see, that's weird to me. I'll be honest. To me, you went from one category to another. And not that I don't know people that live like that, because I know all kinds of people. And as long as it's their lives and I don't have to do it, I'm fine with that. It's not about, but it's about what's right for me. But having the freedom to go and pursue your friendships and your desires for career or your hobbies, that's just the freedom to be you. That's the freedom to be a whole person, a full person.
but
And a
no,
loving
but you're
relationship would support that, right?
yes, it should, but I don't think if your partner doesn't want to do those things, they shouldn't hold it over you like you're never home because you're always off with your girlfriends.
Well, exactly. That's what I'm saying. They should be supportive of you as long as there's a good balance, because I've seen marriages, in with my clients and stuff where they go off and they do things together, never, or once every 6 weeks while they're both kind of living separate lives. And then they
Well,
wonder where the disconnect comes,
I don't want to live a separate life. I want to be involved in my partner's life. I want to do things with my partner, but I don't want to restrict who they are.
Well,
I
what
want
does
to
that look
have,
like? What does that look like?
yeah, I need to have
I mean,
unconditional love. I need to give unconditional love.
yeah, but we have restrictions on all levels. I mean, we just can't get in a car and drive helter-skelter. We can't
I
get in a
understand.
car and drive as fast as we want to and run over people because they're in our way. I mean, there's all kinds of rules and boundaries and staying in the lines and things like that.
Well,
So,
isn't that where respect comes from? Isn't that where I'm going to respect what we have set down on paper or what we've set down as guidelines for our relationship?
well, if that's what you agree to, but a lot of people wholeheartedly think that they can do certain things until they get involved in it. And then when they start living it, they're like, oh, crap, this is not what I thought it was. And I don't want to do this, or I can't do this, or I'm not going to do this. For instance, this is a guilty pleasure of mine. I have been watching, I don't watch a lot of I don't watch normal TV. It doesn't interest me. I don't like stupid comedies. Um, and I don't like reality shows. I've never seen The Bachelor or whatever those things are called, and the Kardashians. But for some reason or another, I saw a show. I guess it started 10 years ago called Sister Wives, and I have followed that religiously because I'm fascinated by the relationship dynamics. He started out with 3 wives, and he went to 4 eventually. They had to leave where they were living because they were afraid of being prosecuted for polygamy because they went public. I'm like, duh, you should have thought about that. Look at that crazy screen before you started that. But what fascinated me was they all seemed to be on the same page. They all seemed committed. They all seemed to believe what they were doing. The wives were very independent. They were not beat down and like what we see with these cults and these what I call bastardizations of religion and stuff with Jeff Warren and things like that. And they even went to like couples counseling between the husband and one of the wives, and then they did joint counseling with the husband and all the wives at times. And the relationships were up and down, up and down, up and down constantly. But I was impressed. Well, but of course, this is all probably skewed because of the editing. They seemed very devoted to what they were doing. Well,
and some of that has fallen apart. Some of those.
Well, that's where I'm going.
Yeah.
So they've done this for years, committed, worked their asses off, committed. And then during COVID, it all fell apart. And he's lost all of his wives except one now. And one of the things that caused this is that they said he had a favorite wife.
Oh.
And they all felt like
jealousy.
he had a favorite wife and he wasn't putting in the same effort. And so that got me to thinking about, just open relationships in general. What if one of the partners that's involved in this thinks the other partner has a favorite person and it's not them? Is that okay?
No, not for me. I want to be number one. If you have others that, that's fine. But this is also the reason that I no longer believe in I no longer believe in marriage.
Well, you stopped believing in a lot of things in the past couple of years, or shifted your beliefs. Let's put it that way.
Shifted. I'd like to say shifted. I think that I think that Goldie Hawn has a great idea. They committed to each other.
Now,
They
who was this?
committed.
I didn't hear what you said.
Goldie Hawn.
Oh, Goldie Hawn and Kurt Russell.
They committed to each other, and they have been. But that doesn't mean you have to have a piece of paper. I mean,
well, you know, in most states, they're legally married as common law, so it's kind of a moot point. You know, it's kind of a moot point. They had children together, and
isn't it what you say it is?
well, it's so ironic to me because the homosexual community has fought so long and so hard to have the right to marry, to
Right.
finally get, and the big difference just from a paper trail is the rights that you have as a spouse based upon law, the right to be with them in the hospital. A lot of insurance will not still let you put a partner on your insurance. For instance, I know of a couple where she hasn't been with her husband for 8 years, and but she's never legally gotten divorced, so she can't add her new partner to her insurance until she legally divorces. There's all kinds of issues with healthcare, and who has the right to claim bodies when there's a death, and things like that. So there's that legal side, and it's a shame that relationships have to consider that, but we do, And is that important? And will it come up as let's just say, for instance, that you're with a partner and you're with them for years, and you're on your deathbed, and your children hate him, and they say you can't come here.
Exactly.
They have the right to do that because they're blood.
I think that that's when you need to have something in writing. This is what I want. This is what my sickness looks like and what I want to see happen. Or this is what my death looks like and this is what I want to see happen.
But that's not a guarantee either, because if they choose to ignore that, now we're talking about legal action required and getting emergency hearings, and maybe you get a ruling soon enough, and maybe you don't. And my God, look at how many probate cases and will contentions there are in our court system. Just because you put it in writing doesn't mean that no one's going to argue with you when you're dead, And
well, I think that it's how do you know your children? How do you? I think I know my children well enough that they're going to see what I wrote and they're going to try to follow it. Now,
okay, I have to turn away from the screen for a minute. Oh my God. Okay.
What?
Oh,
did you just throw up?
No, I was pretending to throw up. Oh my God. We had this conversation in my own family years ago, and those same words were said by someone else in my family. And I said, here's the worst case scenario. And I said, you think you know this person, and I think I know this person, and the person you think you know is not the same person I think I know. And guess who knew the right person? I did. And they did everything I said that they were going to do, and created havoc and chaos and cost a lot of money that didn't need to be spent if they had done what they were supposed to do and done the right thing. So I'm going to tell you, that's a wonderful thought. And you may know them now, but you may not know them later, because circumstances change people.
Exactly. I mean, look at me. So many circumstances have changed the way, even just in the last week.
Yeah.
My reflection on relationships and what they should look like and what I want them to be for me. And what are my needs? What are my wants?
Well, and there was a meme on Facebook the other day. It says, very few children will fight to care over who gets to care for their parents, but most of them will come to fight over the inheritance.
Yes.
And I thought, wow, that's pretty true.
Well, that's great for my kids because there's no inheritance.
No, but there's the emotional aspects of making decisions. And that's the interesting thing that people don't take into consideration. And why I consider myself so fortunate is I see the legal side of things with my PI business, and then I see the emotional and mental side with coaching and things of that nature, is that sometimes the way people will deal with grief is to be in charge and take control of things. So even if there's not an inheritance, there's still your personal items that have to be taken care of. You have to call Social Security and cancel the check and any retirement. I mean, there's a lot of little details. And then there's the decision of planning the funeral if it has not been prepaid and written out and taken care of.
Right.
And people will fight over the right to create debt by planning the funeral, you know? And
well, I hope that I get that done soon, because I don't
so,
know. I think actually what I need to do is sit down and say to both children in the same room, here's what I expect from you if this happens. And I'm going to
and
put
put
it in writing.
and get it witnessed or notarized. 2 witnesses or
Something,
1 notary.
something, because I think my kids have really turned into great adults, and I think they can do that.
Well, and you may be right, because I don't know both of your children well, but the thing about it is we're talking about in generalities as well. And if you live a lifestyle that's contrary to the lifestyle your family approves of, it's really interesting how people can react. Now, I know some really loving families and they don't care. That's you do you, and just bring everybody with you to the table because we want you at the table. Not my experience. Okay. Just not my experience. And again, it's about also protecting yourself. What if you have a long enduring illness? Who's going to make those decisions? Do you want your partner that you love and trust and that you share your body and soul with to make those decisions, or your children who may not be thinking straight because they're grieving about their mother? Because grief for a parent is different than grief for a partner.
Correct. And I believe that the way things are right now, I want my children to make those decisions. I believe they can.
Yeah. So that all needs to be taken care of. But let's back up a little bit. Let's stop dying.
Okay, let's stop dying.
Yeah.
Let's talk
Let's
about
live.
relationships. And
So what if you get into this relationship, and of course, monogamous people cheat and form new relationships. So there's no guarantee that monogamy protects your marriage or your relationship. But does it change your perspective if you're in an open relationship and this person seems to prefer someone else over you when you lay down that as a ground rule and expectation? And
and that has to be addressed, I think, because we can't, we don't always have control over the connections we have with others. Sometimes those connections happen without us even realizing they're happening. And I think that if I mean, I believe women are a little bit different. I don't know. Men seem to have connections that are not the same.
well, I disagree.
Okay.
I think they show them differently, maybe, especially
Maybe.
older men. But
Mhm.
but with younger men, I see a lot of changes in their behaviors and in their relationships and how they exhibit them. But I don't believe that we have connections that we don't control and we don't have a choice about. I believe everything is in our discretion to decide and make choices. And that's part of knowing who you are and what you stand for and what you believe in, and if it's a violation of your beliefs or whatever. Like people will say, well, they cheated on me, but it was just an emotional relationship. Well, that's bad, in my opinion. If you're against cheating, if you're against outside relationships, I would much rather have someone have a physical relationship that meant nothing emotionally than have an emotional relationship and not have a physical one.
I
You see,
agree.
that would be harder for me to understand and to deal with than the other. So again, those are things to talk about and things, to make clear about what you can and can't do and stuff like that. But there are no guarantees. There are none.
Exactly.
So,
And I agree. I think an emotional connection is stronger than a sexual connection. And
well, go ahead. Go ahead.
I've just experienced that over the last 3 months or 2 months. I all of a sudden was emotionally invested when I thought that it was superficial.
Okay, so with that said, where does sex fall in the line of priorities for you, and where does it fall in the line of priorities for this other person? Because it may be that you're in out of balance with what you prioritize, and the issue may not be whether it's an open relationship or not, but the importance of the physicality may cause difficulties if you're not in alignment on that.
Exactly. And that's where I saw the difficulty, because I was becoming invested emotionally, and because I saw that other person on a soul level, and the relationship had to come to an end because that was not what we agreed on.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I was the one putting the wrench into the relationship.
Well, so you have expectations and you have desires. What are you willing to compromise on? That's the next part of a relationship. We all have what we want. We have things that are deal breakers, and then we have things that, we can compromise on. And that's where I see the huge hiccup with people across the board, is that no one sat down and talked about what they were willing to compromise on.
Right. And probably the first thing is, if you have high expectations or expectations at all, you're always going to be disappointed.
I'm taking a deep breath.
Okay.
That seems sad to me.
Okay. So tell me what you call it then. Do you call it planning? Do you call it what I want my future to look like? Because
what I call it is growing.
mm-hmm.
I have high expectations, and I'm going to tell you right now, I'm very outgoing and very open, and my husband Scott is very quiet and very internalized. Even though we're both Geminis, go figure. So we're perfect twin matches from that perspective. I'm learning from my astrology class. But a lot of people assume because I am so outgoing and I have such a high energy and stuff that I overpower Scott. But it takes a strong person to be able to live with another strong person and be equal partners. And that's what we strive for. And there's an imbalance at times, because if you hit a rock mentally or emotionally, internally, that affects the external relationships, But then it's our desire, not our job, but it's our desire, our commitment to help lift the other person up and bring them back on equal footing. So we're always striving to be the best version possible of ourselves as individuals, but also as a relationship. And do we fail miserably at times? Oh my God, yeah.
So I think what I hear is that it's really more about what you strive to accomplish, not an expectation.
Yeah, and I don't accept defeat. I don't accept things because I feel like I have no control over them and it wasn't an agreed upon compromise. Okay. I don't accept things that I feel are inadequate unless there's a measure of leveling out, because you may not get what you need in this arena, but if you get what you need here or even more than what you expected, it levels things out. So to me, to say, well, I like this about them, but I don't like this about them, and unless it's these extreme deal breakers, abuse, belittlement, things that tear you down constantly.
Right. I think that you always have to be uplifted and supported in a positive manner. That needs to go
or at least see them trying to do that. They may not do it. They may fail at it miserably, but if you see that they're trying, but they don't know what to do, they get a star for trying, you know. And then you also have to play your who done it in your head as far as what part do you play in the gaps in the relationship, that type of thing. So now, I'm not saying that I don't ever get disappointed in, you know, because you and I've talked about this. I have very few friends, and it's by design because I put 110% or try to in my relationships. But my family always comes first, and my family is very demanding. So, you know, I have to have friends that love and accept me for how they see me and know that I can't be there for them every day, but I am there when they need me. Absolutely. And that I am always got their back, that type of thing.
All right.
So, you know.
Well, when you were talking about your, what you strive in a relationship, I need someone who's very strong, almost strong-willed because of how strong-willed I am.
Well,
and
absolutely.
I don't want to control someone. I want to be able to have a discussion, and I want to be able to speak my truth and have the other person do the same.
Yeah, and so you and I don't agree on a lot of things, but we agree on the things that help us to form a relationship. You know,
and it's okay. It's okay with me to disagree.
Yeah, I want someone to disagree.
It provokes thought. Yeah, it's okay to know that in our friendship there are some things that we don't see eye to eye on. But
it forces you to think. It forces you to reassess to make sure that you're still in the same place. I have talked to people that say things in their 50s that they were saying in their teens because they've never given it any more thought since then. And when you really dig deep in the conversation and ask the right questions, they'll go, "Oh my God, I don't think that anymore." That's not really true.
Yeah. I think that if we don't grow, if we don't, yeah, I mean, oh snap, I wouldn't want to do some of the things I did when I was a teenager. I was so controlling over other people, and that was just so wrong.
Well, I was talking to a friend of mine who is a pastoral counselor the other day, and he said that they have provided studies that says that 90% of the people that go to counseling just for emotional issues or assessments, we're not talking about people with mental health issues, that type of thing, but that basically it would put counselors out of business if everyone had a nice, committed, loving, strong friend that they could go to and they could regurgitate what they needed to, and someone would hold them accountable and reinforce their direction for them. That counselors have provided really nothing more as a rule other than being a paid friend. And if you talk to people, go, "I have a great counselor," and we're the same way. Because we went to a lot of counseling when the kids were younger to deal with the kids' issues. But of course, we had mental health issues in our family we're dealing with too. So we had to have specialty services along with that. But if you talk to people about counselors, "Oh, my counselor's great because they get me, they understand me, you know, they listen well."
Yeah, they listen.
They judge me. Well, isn't that all the things a good friend would do for you?
Yeah. One of the best sessions I ever had with a counselor is when I just puked it all out, and just said exactly what I thought and just rambled and talked for the whole hour. And when we were done, she went, "Oh, good session." She said nothing the whole time except she would shake her head occasionally. And I left there feeling lighter. I left there feeling validated. So, yeah.
Well, I came to see you last week because I was in a bad place. Yes, I get, and I'm under a lot of stress with a lot of things. And I spent 3 hours just regurgitating. I think the main concept of everything I said is, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. And I was frustrated because I was being forced into positions because of the responsibilities I had to do things I did not want to do. Did we come
Yeah.
up with any solutions? No.
No,
Did we
but
change anything?
no.
No. But I left there with the idea, all right, I'm gonna give myself the rest of the afternoon to pout and to have a pity party and say, oh, woe is me, this really sucks, and then I'm gonna get over it. And I did. I did. And
Yeah.
I've been much better since then and in a much better place. Have my circumstances changed? No. Has anything
That's
gotten
when
better?
that's when you
No.
say, okay, I got to put on my big girl panties and do my thing.
Well, I
And
don't
you
wear pants, so I need something else to say. Commando!
know.
Keeps everything fresher. Light and airy. Light and airy. Light and airy.
Well, I just
You know what I love doing with my friends the most?
what?
Saying things to shock them.
Yeah, we are witness to that. Yes.
What amazes me about that is that my friends are shocked. I mean, if you get me, you should be ready to be shocked at any moment. There should be no surprise to you. That's what gets me. That's why I love doing it.
Well, most of the time I go, well, okay.
She does. She has this like poker face,
Well,
and
okay.
so I tend to draw people to me that have poker faces, and so my job is to make their poker face crack. That's my job.
Well, probably the only thing she's gonna see is my eyebrow go up.
Yeah, I
And
don't know what you did to your eyebrows today, but that's got to go.
hey,
Is that from the filter?
yes.
Take that thing off. That is off.
Hey, I have
I didn't notice that when we first logged on, or I'd made you fix that. It's not that it's the color. Don't what have I told you about orange? Don't do orange.
Hey, this is not orange.
No, the lips are fine. There's a filter on Zoom, in case you don't know, where you can actually have it put like fake makeup on. I have nothing. This is just me with the lighting. The lighting hides
Yeah.
the wrinkles, you know.
Yeah,
And
it's called studio effects.
yes, studio effects. And so she's got these. Oh my God, don't do that. That's terrible. It creeps me out. Oh my, that's like a clown face. Oh geez, don't do that. Okay, now you freaked me out. Is that my punishment?
Yep.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yep.
That's your punishment. All right.
Okay, that ought to be better. Yes.
No, they're still there.
Well,
You got fake eyebrows, and they
yes, I
don't move.
do.
And they don't move when you do.
Oh, well, that I don't
They
see
they
that.
fly like bat wings. They do this sometimes, and you're like, oh my God, she's got a bat on her face. Get it?
I used to tell my kids, if this eyebrow goes up, that means that you are overstepping your boundaries, child.
Oh, one of the things I did with Scarlett, and now I'm kind of sorry I did it because I think it was too strong a suggestion. I'd make a face. I go, does this face look happy? Make it happy. You know, to tell her that her behavior needed to shift a little bit.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, my youngest did not understand facial expressions when he was 6 to 8 years old. And I would say, look at my face. This is the face of unhappy.
Yep.
This is the
Pretty much.
face that mother makes when you're not toting the line. And after I said it for 6 or 8 months, he finally went, oh, what's wrong, Mom? What'd I do?
Well,
Okay, here's the deal.
I had a thought. You know, if people, I have lots of thoughts, but I'm going to share this one. If people were more truthful with themselves about what they wanted, and were not afraid to tell people what they wanted, what they needed, what they expected, what they weren't willing to compromise on, what they were willing to compromise on, we really wouldn't have these boundary issues, you know, because it's all laid out there.
And that's what I find, that I am not forthcoming with exactly what I want.
You don't know what you want at the time.
I don't know how to express what I want, what I need.
Well, and to be truthful with the audience, Luann has a Pollyanna complex.
Yes.
She does. She is
I
the hopeless
always,
romantic.
they may not know who Pollyanna is.
Who is Pollyanna?
A
She's that little
Disney,
girl that lives on a flower or something, right?
a Disney character that always saw the best in everything, that
Yeah.
always saw the positive in everything, and she never ever really had. She was more idealistic, and I think that over the years I've become more realistic.
Well, here's what's interesting. A mutual friend of ours told me one time that my best quality was my worst quality. And I said, what does that mean? And he goes, well, you're able to see the best in people and what they're capable of. So that's wonderful. Most people can't see that. However, because you see the best in people and see what they're capable of, you expect it of them. And then when they don't provide that or act that way or behave that way, then you're grossly disappointed in them and you're really quick to share that with them.
So, why have that expectation?
It's not an expectation. I see what they're capable of based upon their talents, their personality. Like I see what you're capable of, but and sometimes I just have to shut my mouth because I'm like, no, she's going awful. She's off trail, but you're allowed to do that. That's your journey. That's your choice. And, some people never get back on trail. They just don't. But we have all these spiritual coaches and these retreats, be the best that you can be and blah, blah, blah. Well, the thing about it is that most people don't believe what they're capable of.
Mm-hmm.
They know what they want. I would love to be a ballerina, but I am not capable of being a ballerina. Okay. So there's what you want, but then there's what you're truly capable of. And then there's what you want to do. And then there's what you want to do that you do well. And even though I hate putting people in categories, our personalities and our character is just built on cubes of cubes of cubes on top of each other of compartments. And I can't control the fact that I can't be a ballerina, but I can control the fact of who I am with my character. I can't control if I write a book, but I am good at writing. So that there's two disconnects there that are possible, or I can put them together. It's a choice. And people spend so much time criticizing other people that they forget to go into their own little huddle and look at what they could do to improve their own lives, to give themselves peace of mind. And if you have peace of mind and contentment, other people just don't bug you as much.
Yeah. When you know what you want, when you know what you need, when
Yeah.
you can
And when you know who you are and what you're capable of, if it like for instance, I'm gonna pick at you a little bit, but no,
Okay.
I'll stop real quick.
I can
If
take
you
it.
spent, yeah, I know you can, and this will help people. The whole two people that watch this, it will help them.
Thank God. Those people are so important.
If you spent more time focusing on building your herbal company
Mm-hmm.
and doing things for that, and less time thinking about your love life, you would be richer financially. And you would also find that you shift. And when you shift into that and shift out of neutral into fast drive, you naturally attract the right people to you to
Mm-hmm.
form relationships instead of trying. So you're working real hard at making a relationship work right now.
I am.
It shouldn't be
But
that hard. It gets harder as you get older in a relationship because people don't grow at the same pace. But when you're in the beginning throes of a relationship, it just shouldn't be this hard because that's where your foundation is built. You're building a hard foundation right now.
well, I think I know that I can be pushy, and I'm trying not to be that.
I think in building a relationship, you should be pushy.
well,
Not pushing that person to be what you want them to be, but pushing them to say, look, I'm going to cram this down your throat. This is who I am. I'm going to cram this down your throat. This is what I want. That's not negotiable. And then I'm going to lay out on a platter the things I'm willing to compromise on. And if you can get past the first two to where we're at the number three to negotiate, then we're good to go.
Right. But I'm so emotional a lot of times. I cannot take the emotion out of it. I'd become overwhelmed and I cry a lot.
It's okay. You can present it while you're crying. I want you to look in the camera right now. Look where your hand is.
Yeah.
You don't feel like you can say what you need to say. You're choking your words out.
You think I'm trying to block my heart or my throat chakra?
I think you're doing both in that position. So,
maybe it's because I feel like sometimes I share too much.
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
You want me to tell you something real private? I told you I don't wear any underwear. What else you want to know? No, but okay, having as many relationships as I've had in my life, I do know this. When things get rough, when they get really, really rough, if you don't have those really great first beginnings to fall back on to remind you of who you were and who they were, to use that to reinforce yourself during the tough times, it's really even harder to sustain the relationship.
Well, I feel like I failed because this was not supposed to be an emotional relationship.
Why is that failing? I would think it would be the opposite, knowing who you are. To put yourself in a relationship where you can't be emotional is denying a third of who you are. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And to clarify for the two people that are going to watch this in the future, in my previous relationships, I ended all of them because there was abuse involved. Always. Horrible abuse.
I thank God, knock on wood, that I have not had that.
Well, I thank God that I have, because it's made me a better person. I think I would have been a really shitty person. What is going on with Zoom?
I don't know what to tell you. It's like it's having an aneurysm. I don't know.
I don't know. It's like every time I laugh really hard, it does that. Maybe it's my energy.
Well, stop doing it.
I guess. I don't know. I just think I had the propensity to perpetuate a lot of the negative traits that run in and out of my family. And I could have been a very arrogant, very self-centered, very hateful person. And I'm sure that a lot of people say, well, isn't that what happened? Because I'm so blunt and I'm not very lovey-dovey. I'm not real soft, but I'm a very caring person, and I really do try to do my best and give my best to whatever I do. So
there are some people on the surface that don't believe that they feel like that I'm too rough, too stern, too.
Really? I think you're a softie.
I am a softie.
You are. You're just a big old pile of fluff.
I am.
Yep, you are. I would never think of you as being rough or too hard.
No.
I don't get that. You're wrong. Whoever said that, you're wrong.
Well,
wrong. Here, I'm gonna spray them. I'm gonna spray them. Wait a minute. Whoever said that, bitch be gone. Bitch be gone spray.
Well,
I have to have some. I'm almost out.
I need to make some this week because Carrie needs some. So.
Oh, no, I was going to make a joke, but I'm not, because it could be misconstrued.
Yes, it could be.
I won't do that. All right. Well, I don't have anything else to say about this.
Well, it's a debate. It's a hard thing to talk about because you come to the realization that you may be wanting something from others they can't provide.
Well, then find someone that can.
So, yeah.
Say more, ask more questions, expect more. I solve all the world problems in less than 3 sentences.
Well, if you're living in the moment, sometimes it's hard to think about planning.
Well,
What's
then
the
don't
difference?
always live in the moment. We need to stay in the moment, yes. And I'm the world's worst about staying in the moment. But there is a point to God gave us a brain to think, and to plan and to strategize and all these other things. So again, it goes back to one word, balance. Where's the balance in all that? And I would say that that's probably the biggest thing that you could focus on right now is balance.
I see that.
Yeah,
I hear what you're saying.
and to not make decisions based out of fear.
Oh yeah, I have done that.
So
Even
so
with
oh,
even with my business,
yeah,
because at the beginning I had a fear of success. If that's, I mean,
I have a fear of having to work till I die.
Oh, mm.
All right, so we want to thank all of you for watching this, all 2 of you, and joining us for Luann's counseling.
Yes,
Stay
for my
tuned next week.
opinions that have no balance in life.
We'll see what we talk about
Except
next
money.
week. Yeah.
Yeah, and if there's something you want to hear us discuss, you gotta email us.
Or if you want to come be on the show, come be on the show. We'll talk to you about your issues and we'll tell you how wrong you are.
Do you want them to email you?
Yeah, Deborah Colleen Rose at gmail.com and Herbal Lou Apothecary. Tell me your
No,
website.
it's Herbal Lou 1105. Oh, my website is herbal-lou.com.
And then there's deborahrose.com. And then there is isgu.com if you need private investigations. And then there's Miles of Smiles events if you need us.com if you need us to come out and tell your fortunes and entertain you and make you laugh. So anyway, we will see y'all next week. And balance is the word for the
Bye for now.
bye. Bye balance. Bye bonds. No.